Welcome to the PowerCat Podcast, the original K-State sports show. Here's your host, Tim Fitzgerald.
Welcome to the PowerCat Podcast, your weekly show, the original K-State podcast. Today, we're going to try something new. We're going to strip this podcast down to two people. It will be Gilbert and I, Gills and Fitz most of the time. But you'll see other combinations later in the week as we give you multiple podcasts for this off week. If you're a subscriber at Wabash Station, to GoPowercat, drop more questions down into that podcast thread. And if I'm going to say it, Gills, I'm just going to call them out. If you underperform, there's not enough good football questions for a second football pod, I'm going to let the users on X in on the game. That's it. Yeah. This is your domain. You get to ask the questions, but we got to have questions. So we're going to do three of them. I think Mr. Gilbert and our young Mr. Snowden. What?
Yeah, go ahead.
We'll do basketball tomorrow, I think. That's the plan. All plans are subject to change due to the boss being a lazy boob.
You can count on me and Grant. Anything that revolves around Fitz, though. Good luck.
I know, especially in an off week. I'm done. I'm getting worn out, man.
Well, yeah, what we were supposed to do today is not happening, Fitz.
No.
It's never going to happen. Let's be real.
I'm about ready just to pay someone to throw everything away. Look, we've got a storage unit of our old office stuff, and there's a lot of, like, I say commercial, but they're not like actual office desks. They're I don't know how to describe them. They're bare minimum desktop things that have lasted decades. I mean, we bought them in 98, some of them, and they still mostly look good, but there's a lot of them. We need to rehome them. There's a lot of other stuff, some decorations. I just came across on the garage a bunch of PowerCat Illustrated covers. Old ones.
I want one.
You can probably, I don't know. Maybe I'll give it to you. I'm not sure. So we'll check out what kind of mood I'm in, if I'm giving or if I'm a selfish human being. But it is all about me. So let's get going here with the questions from Wabash Station. Let's see where banners. God, Gills. Man. I think Ireland's finally catching up to me. I think it's finally setting in. And by the way, it looks like we got multiple questions from the same person, because we threw out those rules because we just want good questions, and Fervent Purple delivered big time. Here's his first one. Maybe it's a he, maybe it's a she, maybe Fervent Purple's non-binary. I don't care. Good questions are good questions. Contrarian take. Oh, here we go. Matt Wells only called a good game because the two defensive touchdowns took most pressure off. Changed my mind. You might be right, but he had success doing it. Maybe he learned from that. Just calm down and do your thing. I just thought they would sequence their plays much better and executed much better, which is on the players as much as anyone. But I thought it was an encouraging sign. But it doesn't mean the patient has been healed because they had a good day. We'll find out. And you're right. People behave differently under different levels of pressure.
First three drives for Kansas State, Fitz, if you recall, got into plus territory. All three resulted in a punt from Simon McClennan. That's bad. And so if there is one thing to maybe ding Matt Wells, the offense, that side of the football on, it was the beginning of the game. Now, credit for Kansas State for kind of weathering that storm, but I would caution you just on those first three drives that to blame Matt Wells. First drive, I'm all for it, right? Have at it. But second drive, a penalty really cost it. It was a Jerron Tibbs false start, made it 1st and 15 after K-State got to kind of moving the ball a little bit. Those are the drive killers, right? Now, obviously, if you have a penalty on the first play of a drive, that sucks. But if you get that momentum and you get the ball moving and then the ball gets brought back after a couple plays, that can really hurt you. That can get you out of your rhythm. So a false start from Tibbs, maybe hindered that drive. The third drive, Fitz, was a John Pastore hold. It was 2nd and 8, made it 2nd and 18. And it's tough to do what you want to do, especially when you're, maybe scripting your plays early on and you get behind the sticks and you're in 2nd and long and 1st and long. That's not on the offensive coordinator at all. Guys, you think Matt Wells is telling him to go hold the opponent, go false start? If you're
some people probably believe that.
Maybe if you're a conspiracy theorist like Fitz, maybe that's what you think is happening. So it's fair, right? K-State didn't start well, but that's really on the players. I've said this a lot. The beginning of the year, K-State's issues were on the players. Against Baylor, I think it was more coaching. Here in this game against TCU, the players, just for these, just in a microscope of the beginning of the game, that was not on Matt Wells. And, to sum this up, Fitz, Matt Wells got cute against Baylor. Up big, getting aggressive, letting Avery Johnson throw. Here against TCU, okay, here you go, Joe Jackson. This is you. Don't fumble the ball. Offensive line is blocking well. This is how you're supposed to do it with the lead.
You're right. I'm going to tell Coach Wells you said he was cute.
He probably liked that.
He'd laugh. Yeah, I think Fervent Purple's got a point.
Sure, I get it.
He was calling plays at one point, up 2 touchdowns, but that's also when he got in trouble. When he was up 2 touchdowns, kept doing stuff that probably shouldn't have, and then that throw down the middle just kind of came apart. I'm hopeful that now that the offensive line is playing better. Do we have an offensive line question?
We don't. Are you going to move on though?
Not yet.
Okay, go ahead.
Offensive line is playing better, and I hope when they get more healthy with some of the guys that were starting earlier, they don't put them in. Stick with these guys. These guys had a great game, or a better game. I'm not going to give them great. It's not like they were blowing off, open big holes there. But they did establish some consistency. And when you get a guy like Joe Jackson, who's a power guy, just pounding the ball, he was not running that hard earlier in the season. I think he was trying to be finesse when that's not his thing. And he was a step away from getting into the open field a couple times. But if you're going to average 4 yards a carry, as Mike Lawrence said on the Insiders the other day, that's going to get you a first down if you do that 3 times in a row. That's old school stuff, and I love it. So having a more effective running game, a more reliable running game, and somewhat with a power run, I think really took some pressure off him too.
And be sure to check out Big B's in the trenches on GoPowercat. His kind of overarching theme was just the trust that the team, the offensive coordinator, had in the offensive line in that game. And it fits real quick to circle back to that first point about Matt Wells. Yes, the defense got those touchdowns. Matt Wells was never in maybe a situation where he had to play his best cards, but no need to apologize for that. Kansas State football is about making those plays where the offense maybe doesn't have to go out and play, go out and score every single drive and, controlling the tempo, controlling the clock. There's no need to be sorry for that if you're Matt Wells. That's K-State football. That's exactly what Chris Kleiman wants out of his team.
I would not have been surprised if TCU scored 6 touchdowns in this game, which they did. Just 2 of them were for Kansas State. Those defensive plays took some pressure off. But that's been a hallmark of Kansas State football. Defensive and special teams scores have been plentiful through the years, and they do help offenses relax and go do their thing. So I'm all in. Next up, here he comes again, Fervent Purple. I think we all know the player of the game on defense last weekend. Who is your offensive player of the game? I'll let you go first, Gills. Let me think about this.
This is maybe a cop-out, but Avery. Okay, I thought about, Garrett Oakley played well, and you look at his stats, couple touchdowns, great, but Avery Johnson, we can blame coaching all we want for that loss against Baylor, but Avery Johnson is the guy that panicked and threw the pick six, right? Avery Johnson and John Grove touched on this in his Upon Further Review piece on the site. Avery Johnson was maybe okay to just take a sack in this game. And that is the sign of a mature quarterback. And when you win, let me do math here, Fitz. You score 27 points on offense, right?
Yep. 3 touchdowns.
That's not great, but that's good enough when your defense is complimenting you. The quarterback deserves some credit for that, a lot of credit in that. And no turnovers from Johnson. That's probably the biggest thing. He didn't force it. So Avery Johnson facilitated a fine game offensively. But the question asked, Des Purnell, right? We all know who the defensive guy was. The defense won the game. And again, there is nothing wrong with that. That's K-State football.
Agreed. You could almost argue Des Purnell was the offensive player of the game too. But I am going to go with Garrett Oakley. I thought this was a big-time performance from him. I thought his availability to Avery made his life a lot easier. Oaks dropped some passes this year, and that has been as deflating as anything because throwing to the tight end has been the cure-all for Kansas State for a few years now, maybe 3 years with Ben Sinnott. When all else is covered, the tight end's going to catch the ball at least, and that hadn't happened. So to have Oakley kind of come through and at one point turn on his jets, I didn't know he had that kind of speed as he won the race to the corner of the end zone. I thought he was outstanding, and he is emerged from that tight end room as the most consistent and explosive player and maybe the best all-around player too. And that says a lot because that group's pretty good. They haven't had the kind of year that they did last year, but I think also that it's kind of been the play caller. I think Matt Wells has turned to them a little bit less than was done in the previous season. But I think these last 2 games, he has figured out you need to get the ball to the tight end. Now, ironically, the play that got blown up at the goal line that they were so confident in was the tight end pass to Will Ancio and, a little thing that you saw a touchdown against UCF. But I thought, and you could pick Joe Jackson too.
Mm-hmm.
He delivered. Yeah. He's not going to be a home run hitter. He's not. But I think he showed why he and Dylan together would have made a really effective backfield. But he is very good at pass protection, or at least better than anyone else at pass protection. And he's a very able and available receiver. He's made plays out of the backfield catching the ball. So he's more complete, I believe, than Dylan Edwards is. He just doesn't have that thing. Good running backs can learn everything he's doing. They gotta have a little instinct there with running the ball, but running hard, catching the ball and blocking. Those are things, if you're the right kind of athlete, you can learn. But that home run ability of a Dylan Edwards or a Jace Brown out of the backfield is hard to beat. As you can't learn that. You just are able to do that and run away from everyone. DJ Giddens kind of developed it. He did kind of learn it, but that was through developing speed. So Joe could have been it too. And I would almost be tempted to throw an offensive lineman in there, but I think the whole unit did a pretty good job. So,
yeah, Joe, if you take a step back, Fitz, and look at the rest of the season moving forward, that performance from Joe Jackson was huge just because of the inconsistencies that Kansas State has had at running back all year. Go back to the Arizona game and look at the distribution of those snaps and carries from the running backs. I mean, it was a mess without Dylan Edwards. And who knows, there was a question, didn't include it. We'll see what happens with Dylan Edwards moving forward. But if he's not there, you're feeling okay with Joe Jackson back there just because of the reliability, the consistency factor that he brings.
They need someone, those younger guys, to maybe emerge as that playmaker. And neither one of them is quite shown they're there. So, because I don't know what Dylan's status will be. I think he's hurt, not injured, and not playing at this moment. I would hope he would be motivated to play against Kansas. They probably could use him in that game because Kansas really can't stop the run. I think he'd be effective, but we will find out what's in Dylan Edwards' future as we move through this season. I thought it was very interesting that he was questionable on the Wednesday night availability report. Then I believe it was the next day that it was reported he wasn't going to play. So, but I don't think he's that injured. I just don't think he's to the point where you can say 2 days in advance he absolutely can't play. It's just a weird situation. Someone else gets to ask the question. It's King Jim 77, and I wish I had the trumpets playing for you, King. Who needs to win more, K-State or KU? Well, I cover K-State. I think it's K-State because they're the ones with the reliable tradition that has eroded this season. And Kansas is kind of being Kansas. They've won some games. They're just volatile. They can play really good football, as they did in that Texas Tech game, and that second quarter in particular. They were by far the better team for a quarter. But then they go back to what they are. And if they sustain 4 quarters against teams, you're going to lose. Unless you're really good, you're going to lose. But I don't think they're to the point now where you can say they've earned that win by showing that they're the better team. I think K-State, with its tradition, not making it to a bowl game would kind of be a disaster. You like to string those together, get the extra practices, see some young guys in that game. It really helps you advance, in theory. We didn't really see that this season, did we? But I think it really is more important for Kansas State to win. But I have a feeling for the first time KU will be more motivated to win. They've been more motivated, or at least equally motivated, the last 2 seasons. I think there's going to be a sense of urgency that now is the time with Jalen Daniels being a senior. I assume he's not going to have an 8th season, but with the NCAA, you never know. If Jalen Daniels plays exceptionally well and protects the ball, that's how they lost the game last year. He fumbled. KU's probably going to win this game, but I think K-State's playing a much better brand of football right now.
I get what you're saying, Fitz, but until Kansas, I really do understand your point, but until Kansas wins, this game is always going to mean more for the Jayhawks. This season, Kansas State struggles to turn things around. Of course, it's a very important game in Manhattan for this program. But if Kansas, and I get it, Kansas has had success on the recruiting trail. In-state, out-of-state, Kansas is becoming very competitive in the Big 12. Maybe not very competitive, but not just in terms of what's happening on the field. But off the field, there's momentum, clearly. KU wants to get over the hump and compete. You got to get over the hump against Kansas State. So this is moving forward for years upon years. This is always going to just be who needs the win more, right? It's Kansas. Kansas needs to get over the hump. I think I said that 3 or 4 times now. Kansas needs to get over the hump.
I'm proud of you for saying
Thank
so
you.
often.
Thank you.
Actually, the phrase is get over the Humpty Hump, but
okay, my bad.
You can go with whatever you want. Our friend El Camino Cat, does the loser of the Sunflower Showdown make a bowl game this season? It's going to be really hard if that loser is Kansas State. That means they got to beat either Utah or Texas Tech. If those games were reversed and Utah was coming to Manhattan and Texas Tech was on the road, I might accept that. I just think Tech's a horrible matchup for Kansas State. And I think Utah at home, even though they've lost a lot of home games, I think Utah at home is a much bigger challenge. I think they kind of, it's traditionally been like Bill Snyder Family Stadium. The home team's just better. They haven't been since joining the Big 12, but I think we're seeing Utah football kind of come back. So yes, and honestly, I don't know KU's schedule. While you talk a little bit, I'll look up KU's schedule.
I was going to say real quick, yes, Oklahoma State is a win for Kansas State. We can all agree on that. But even Colorado, man, coming in, if Kansas State's at 5 wins, we'll see if the motivation factor is up to snuff where it needs to be. It might be, it might not be, but Kansas State, this is a really, really good question because Kansas State, just when you think they're done, just when you think the team is done, okay, bounce back and win over UCF. The heartbreaking loss at Baylor. Okay, K-State could have easily folded. They come back and play well against TCU. So the season at many times, even after losing to Army, seems like it's over. And Chris Kleiman, to his credit, say what you want about that man. He is keeping his team locked in. His team has not jumped off the ship. If guys aren't even on the fence, they're all on the correct side of that fence. Players talked about that, I think, after the UCF game or maybe after the Baylor game. Chris Kleiman's keeping these guys bought in. How long can you keep the team bought in? If you lose to Kansas, it would be very hard. But if history is going to repeat itself just in this vacuum of this season, the season's not over if you lose to KU. But human nature has to kick in at some point. That, man, we're not getting over that hump, Fitz.
Humpty hump. Okay, here's KU's schedule. Of course, they play K-State, and they're off this week along with K-State. I don't know that that's happened before.
Yeah,
so maybe someone with a functioning memory can fill me in the comments. Kansas State, Kansas. Then they play host to Oklahoma State. I think they're going to win.
Really?
That's I think they could.
Hot take alert.
Yeah. Yep. But then it gets a little more challenging. Here's a game they could win if it was at home, but they go to Arizona. That's a little more challenging. Then they go to Iowa State. Again, if that's in Lawrence, I feel pretty good about that. And they do close the season with a home game. It's Utah. So, yeah, I think the loser of this game is in trouble. They've got to go beat someone you don't think they should be able to beat. But I think those possibilities are stronger for Kansas. They can win at Iowa State. They can win at Arizona. I don't see K-State winning at Utah. I don't see K-State beating Tech. That leaves, taking care of Oklahoma State and Stillwater. I think you and I could win at Stillwater this season. The two of us against them. At least we'd play them close. And then, of course, Colorado coming in. And I feel like if K-State's at 5 wins there, there's going to be a sense of urgency that will overtake. I don't know. It's very interesting that this conference might have trouble filling its bowls because this mush in the middle of this league where teams are good or bad week to week, including how we've seen TCU really stink it up. They were bad. They weren't impressive at all on Saturday. There's going to be a lot of teams hovering around that 6-win threshold, scrambling for victories. So that'll be kind of interesting to watch. And, of course, the national media will say that's because the Big 12 sucks and discount that this conference really does have 4 or 5 teams playing some pretty damn good football right now. And one of the things I think is really cool about it is if you look at them, only one is an original Big 12 program, or at least the second to last rendition of it. You got Tech, you've got Arizona State, Utah, BYU, and who am I forgetting? Cincinnati. So I just think it's interesting. The newbies have brought a lot to the table. Next up, Fervent Purple returns. Man, you're spoiled. You know that, Fervent? You look, you can bribe Ryan Gilbert all you want. No, just go ahead and bribe him. What are your thoughts on Penn State firing Coach Franklin after they went to the CFP?
The what?
CFP college football playoff last season and lost by only 3 in the semifinal. I think it's absolute bull. You know what? I do. Look, it wasn't about his losses. It was about who they were to and the magnitude of those losses. Now, I saw the stat that he's the first coach to lose back-to-back games as a 20-point favorite, 20-plus point favorite in 30 years. So I think there was a great deal of embarrassment that went with that. But his overall record is really good. Has he got him over the hump to the next step? No. They haven't been a regular title contender in the Big Ten. join the club. I mean, Ohio State and Michigan have kind of dominated that. And the only reason other teams were playing in the championship game was someone from the West, when they had that division, had to show up and play. And they got their ass kicked. So, yeah, I think it was an overreaction. There's a thought that it was all about clearing them out so they can hire Matt Rule, the Penn State alumnus, who I don't think is going to leave Nebraska. I think he feels like he's got something that can really connect at Nebraska. I thought it was typical Big Ten arrogance to just dismiss Nebraska. Now, granted, they've been down for quite a while, certainly since going to the Big Ten, but there's as much tradition there as anywhere, including Penn State, probably in excess of that over Penn State. So, no, I think it was crap, but the stakes in college football now are enormous. The salaries are enormous. And he may not have deserved being fired, but they're paying him $50 million to go away. You take a zero off that, and I'll go away for you. In fact, that you might take 2 zeros off.
A couple, yeah, more than a couple zeros.
I'll be fine. But yeah, no, I don't think they should have, but I'm not surprised they did. Their ego got ahead of their brain, and they pulled a trigger.
You'd mentioned the 2 back-to-back 20-plus point favorite defeats. I mean, that's still a pretty insane stat. When's the last time K-State was favored by 20 in one game? Right? So that was the state of the program, to be expected to just blow out your opponents. Now, I get it, when you lose, there's consequences to some extent, but the program a month ago was ranked 3, 2? I mean, they were a top 5 team, and for it to happen that quick is wild. And I do believe part of this was, I put a big bet on the Packers to win the Super Bowl, parlayed with Penn State to win the CFP. Packers are looking solid, but that bet is toast. Anyways, my real thought, Fitz, is you mentioned Nebraska football. You talked about it. Going to the Big Ten, the grass is not always greener. Firing your coach, who's pretty good, is a gamble. The grass is not always going to be greener. That's what I would caution with Penn State is, do you truly believe you can find somebody as good, even with his flaws, as good as Franklin?
Yeah, they're going to have problems. I mean, if they don't get Matt Rule, I think they're going to throw money at Kurt Singeti, but I don't know if they can get him out of Indiana.
What about Matt Campbell? He's always got to be in this conversation, right?
Actually, I think it's a pretty good fit. He's an Ohio guy.
Sure.
But is that an upgrade from James Franklin? I mean, Matt Campbell's kind of doing the same thing in the Big 12. Yeah, he's getting to the championship game, but he hasn't really gotten over the hump either.
Mm-hmm.
So, Gills, I don't know why this happened. I went to our Where to Watch for the Army game, check out the odds. It appears it's completely blank.
Good job. What was that spread?
Hold on.
It was
the story is the story has none of the slots filled in. I don't even know how that happened. Huh. Oh well. So much for that. I don't remember what Kansas State was favored in that game. In fact, I don't even remember that game ever happening. Here we go. 2-minute drill.
Yeah.
We got a 2-minute drill. There's 2 of us. That leaves us about a minute each, or one of us gets a minute 50, and the other gets 10.
You take it all, yeah.
2-minute question. Halloween is coming up. Oh, wait, no, I don't like this. What horror movies do you recommend? Yeah, I'm not a horror movie kind of guy. I think a horrible horror movie is Marley and Me. The dog dies. Sorry if I ruined that for you. But when I was a younger man, Nightmare on Elm Street kind of got to me a little bit. There was a little yip to that. Do you like horror movie, Skills?
No. This was the only question, period, that had 2-minute drill worthiness. So, I mean,
go you. There's nothing wrong with the question. It's the answer. People are not qualified.
No. If you like horror movies, you are you're messed up in the head. I'm sorry.
Yeah, who chooses to be scared?
You're weird. You're very weird.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? What was it called? Get Out? Oh gosh. It's from Key. Is Key or Peel? One of the two guys is now making.
Which one even is? I don't even know the difference. Does anybody know the difference?
I want them back. It seems like their stuff gets funnier as it
Right.
ages.
That's half my TikTok feed. Is just.
But yeah, Get Out was. I think that was the one where he kind of falls into darkness. That was pretty scary. You know, it's also scary. Shared a room with Tim Fitzgerald on road games.
It is very scary. It's not a sight you would want to see. But our trip to Baylor was great. I was around you in a hotel room for a matter of hours. It was very brief. It was good.
I didn't even hardly realize you were there.
Mm-hmm.
Was proud of you that trip. You hit it hard Friday night, got on a plane, made it to the game. We got up to Dallas on Saturday night, and you hit it hard again with some buddies. That's some good work, young man. That's the old GoPowercat Powercat Illustrated road trip.
Yeah. I'm keeping the torch lit.
I was in bed by like 10:30.
But this trip to Columbia, the game's at 9 for the exhibition.
9 p.m.?
Yeah. We've got a football game at 11 a.m. in Lawrence.
Why are they playing an exhibition at 9 p.m.?
Right. That's SEC, I guess. Well, it's on TV. It's on SEC Network. So maybe that's why. I don't know.
Oh,
it's very unique.
Out. Yeah. Yeah. So you and Grant, I believe, are going to go to that and then come back into the KU game. I may not be going to KU. We might not get enough credentials. Someone's got to host that post-game show.
We don't want to see you. Good.
I know. I really do want to see the stadium, though.
I'll FaceTime you.
I might hit up my buddy Travis Goff to get a private tour. But appreciate everyone watching. That's it. It's just the two of us. What do you like? Do you like the two-man show? I think they were getting too long. I like the 30-minute weekly pod. And then if you want to do a second one, it's not that big a commitment. It's kind of like going out with Ryan Gilbert. You don't want to have the date too long because then it gets clingy. I don't know. I was just riffing there and it didn't work. Let's leave.
This has been a GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street production. Please support this show by subscribing to this YouTube channel or follow us on your favorite podcast platform.